Hi crafty friends, I'm back with a process video. This is for the Colorcast design team, and this is my first project using the September releases, and we can be perfectly honest with each other. I don't know if you came for the process video or you came to hear me babble about how much I love fall things, but both will happen, I promise, because the fall, I can't call them fall releases, they're September releases, but the September releases that I chose as part of my design team package are all about the fall things. Now, Jessica released a lot of other things this month. There were some mom themed pieces, but if you've watched my videos or you follow me on Instagram, you know that the only kids we have at home are the cats. And so the marching band mom piece, while they're amazing, and the soccer mom pieces and the stay at home mom pieces, while they're all great, you know, if you know me at all, you know I went for the fall pieces. And so part of what I chose were these really fun circular frames, and I decided to print my photos really small and put my photos in the frames. Now, two of the frames are 3-inch circles, 2.5-inch circles, sorry. And if you print your photos 2x2 square, they fit in the frame perfectly. The smaller frame took a little bit of work for me to get my photo in it. I think it's, oh, don't quote me, I want to say it's like an 1.5-inch circle. So what I did was I just printed my photo on a 2x2 square, and then I did a little bit of work to get it down into the circle. Now, while you watch me cut and fuss with that, let's talk about fall, because fall is the best season. All you people who love summer, I'm not sure how you live with yourself, because I despise the heat, and it was a really, really awful summer in New York City. We had way too many days where it was above 90 degrees, and I am so excited that it is finally, like today was the first full, while I'm recording this voiceover, was the first full day of fall. And of course I had pumpkin spice, and I went to Trader Joe's and I bought the pumpkin everything because I have a problem. And so what I'm scrapping today are photos of pumpkins and a pumpkin spice latte. Now these are last year's pictures because I haven't seen any pumpkins yet. I'm not sure what's taking people so long, because the first day of September, the pumpkins should be out. But I haven't seen any pumpkins yet. So these are photos from last year. But I have a photo of some pumpkins that I had found at Whole Foods and some pumpkins I had found at Trader Joe's. And then a photo of the foam inside my pumpkin spice latte. I probably had 6 or 7 of them for the season. And yeah, problem. But it's okay. I own it. And I think the first step to dealing with the problem is admitting that you have it. So back to the layout, because again, I'm not sure if you came to hear me babble or to watch what I'm doing, but if you know anything about me or if you've watched me scrap before, you know I'm a sucker for mixed media and I like messy backgrounds. And these distress oxides are currently my favorite way to add color to the background. They dry really, really fast. They are a matte pigment, so they're not like shimmery like the shimmers paints which you've seen me use. These are completely matte, but I like them because they're water reactive. So you put them down, and then if you wanted to add water, you can pick the paint back up and you get this really fun oxidation thing that happens. So what I did was I picked out 3 colors that I thought worked. So I used the orange, it's fossilized. Nope, that's the yellow. The orange is spice marmalade. The yellow is fossilized amber. And then the coral color I'm using is abandoned coral. And what you saw me do is I just kept putting my frames back onto the mixed media to see, how they look. I also glued my frames together, and I put a yellow pom-pom trim under the main frame that has my pumpkin spice photo. And my husband says I should tell you why I edited that out the video. So full disclosure, the reason that I edited out me putting that trim on that frame was because I had a major issue trying to do it. I think I used 3 different adhesives before I could figure out how to get that trim to stick to the frame. I tried my regular Scotch tacky glue that's in my fine line bottle. I tried my Tombow Mono Multi. I tried tape runner. Eventually I ended up using red line tape, and that worked. But yeah, it was a struggle. And the raw footage for this video was like 1.5 hours because of how many times I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. This is not working. But it actually worked out really well, so I'm happy. So now I'm doing some stamping in my background, and I very rarely stamp on layouts. I'm not brave. Stamping is very permanent and it's very hard to cover up. But I had this idea to create kind of like a wreath, even though it's not a circle, like branches coming out from behind my circle pieces. So I'm using 2 color box inks, and the reason I use these color box inks is 1, they're shiny and they're pretty, and 2, they're archival, so I could put them on the mixed media, and then if I wanted to add more water to the background, they wouldn't smear. So I'm doing some stamping in the gold archival ink and the rose gold, and I love shiny things. These stamps are from a Vicky Boutin stamp set. It's the Field Notes stamp set that comes with the stamp and the die, and I just grabbed the 2 branch looking elements. And so I did a bunch of stamping, and it just kept putting my photo back and then doing some more stamping and then putting my photo cluster back. So now you can see it's kind of like exploding out from behind my frame, and that was the vibe I was going for. So now, I don't know if you noticed at the beginning of the video while I was babbling, there was a ton of stuff on my desk for this. I don't really have any fall collections. I love fall, but for some reason the scrapbook collections don't really like speak to me. So I ended up grabbing a bunch of random stuff. I grabbed some of that Pink Fresh Simple and Sweet because I knew there would be colors, like embellishments that were the right color. And then I pulled out some One Canoe 2 Hazelwood, and this was like spring of last year, I want to say. So it doesn't all work because there's a ton of butterflies and strawberries and things that aren't really appropriate for this season. But you know what works year round? Flowers. Flowers work year round. And the One Canoe 2 pack was full of like yellow and coral, which were just the colors I needed. I had pulled out those like cherry sprigs from the Simple and Sweet collection, but I put them back because they had a green stem and the green was just too much for my page. And I also pulled out that butterfly, but I don't actually end up using it just because it felt too springy and it wasn't what I was going for. So the flowers work and the flowers stay on the page. And those tiny wood veneer, those were also from Colorcast Designs. There's like pumpkins and apple slices and leaves in the pack, and it is just, they're so tiny and they're so cute. And once release day hits, I think I need to buy a backup because I want to put it on everything. So I pull out this, and this is from Simple Stories. This was their like Thanksgiving autumn collection from last year, and I was hoping that I could find something semi-fall-y, autumny, whatever the adjective is for fall, in that pack, and I don't really find anything that I like, so I fuss with it and put it back. I pulled out that wood veneer circle that had a heart on it because I thought it'd be fun since, you know, they're circles, and put another circle, but I actually don't end up using it. I figured I would stick to my frames that have my photos in it and then go from there. So now I'm pretty happy with my cluster. I have that gold foil frame that's from the Simple and Sweet pack, and there's a gold foil heart that's also from the Simple and Sweet pack, and then pretty much all the other flowers except for these hanging flowers that I scatter around the page are from the One Canoe 2 Hazelwood, which you can still buy. Hazelwood was a beautiful collection. The only reason I have extras of it is because I bought it and then I had received it in like a Kit Club subscription, and so I ended up with 2 packs, and so I saved it and I figured I'd use it on a later project, which worked out. And that's why I like, my husband calls me a hoarder, but I figure I save things and then eventually they come back and then I can use them again. And if not, then I can hopefully repurpose it for someone else or something else. So now I'm sticking down my embellishments. That frame, I cut it in half because I save everything, and I figured if only half of the frame was sticking out behind of my photo, then there's no reason to put the whole frame behind the photo and then, you know, it's hidden. And gold foil is like diamonds in the scrapbooking community, and so there's no reason to hide it. So that's what I did. And I ended up moving the heart from the right side of my cluster and put it on the left side of my cluster with the gold foil frame, and I figured I'd put the gold on the gold. And I wanted to pull some gold in because I had the metallic stamping, and so now I'm adding some of those smaller wood veneer pieces. I use that apple at the end, and I put the apple down there because some of my stamping is less than perfect. The archival inks tend to be a little smushy, and so I had a little bit too much ink on my stamp when I went to apply it to the page, and so the impression isn't, that one in particular is a little muddy, but I'm okay with that. That's why I don't stamp on my pages though, because that happens and then you're like, oh, now I have to cover this up. But I added that little apple to cover the blemish and it works. Now that gold and white die cut is also from the Simple and Sweet, and so I pull out my stash of Colorcast Designs the random wood veneer and acrylic pieces that I have left, because Jessica is far too generous. And so we always have a little bit left at the end of the month. And I figured there had to be a wood veneer tag or label or something that would be appropriate for this page. And I found one, and it says living in the moment, and it's perfect because I wanted to put something on top of that gold and white tag that I had placed on the right side of my cluster. And also I wanted to use a little bit more wood veneer since I have those big wood veneer frames. So I pull out these bows because I managed to get a little bit of glue on my frame, and then I got something dark stuck to it, and it left a little bit of a blemish, and I have these Amy Tangerine bows sitting on my desk, and so I figured I would use one up, and so I added a white bow, and then I added a gold bow, and now there are cats running around. I'm so sorry if you hear that, but kittens, this is my life. I had a subscriber comment, and she said she wondered what kind of trouble the cats were causing because you always hear them in the background. And I'm like, girl, if you only knew. So now I added some machine stitching to my a border, and I intentionally did it really, really messy. I did 2 layers of stitching, so I did one way all the way around, and then I did it again, and I tried to like wiggle my paper as much as possible so I get a really wonky border. And I do like the way that looks. I like the pop of gold because again there's a lot of metallic on this page, and I like the messy border. I've been doing a lot more machine stitching on my layouts recently, and I'm really enjoying it. Now that my sewing machine and I are friends, I pull it out like all the time. I need to find a place to leave it on my desk so I don't constantly have to pull it out since I'm using it a lot more often than I was using it before. So now I'm putting down my title, which I probably should have told you what it was, but it says Autumn Vibes. It's one of the new acrylic pieces that are releasing today. If you're watching this on the 25th, if you've seen this after the 25th, then they're already on sale and you should go to the Colorcast Design shop immediately and go get one. So now after I glue down my title, I pull out the confetti pieces and, oh, never mind. First I try to see if there's a bow that I want to put underneath it. There isn't a bow that I want to put. So now I pull out my confetti pieces, and Jessica almost always releases a confetti mix that is complementary in color to the releases that month, and I call this one the candy corn mix because it has gold, it has orange, yellow, and white, and it just reminds me a lot of candy corn. So I wanted to do something to the top left side because this page is very much skewed to the right, and I wanted to kind of balance the page out a little bit. So I pull out the stamps again in the same inks that I was using, and I figured I could do some branches in the top left corner just to give you something to look at and to create that diagonal. I mentioned this in a previous video, but I almost always aim for diagonals when I scrap. I can't really do the straight vertical or the straight horizontal, and one of these days I'm going to challenge myself and not do like a diagonal type layout, but it's really hard for me. That's just my personal style, I guess. So I ended up deciding I was going to do a cluster in the top left corner. And I go back in that Hazelwood pack and I try to find something. I can't figure out what I want to do, so I'm like, I'll do confetti, and then I'll come back to it. And that happens a lot for me. Like sometimes if I'm struggling with a particular embellishment, I find that if I leave it and I come back to it, it works a lot better. So I go down and I glue some confetti. I have that yellow love heart. I put down like an orange star. I put down another orange asterisk, a white star. And I try to put them next to my flowers just so they look like intentionally scattered and not just like I dropped them on the page and wherever they stuck, they stuck. And I love this confetti. They're like part of my favorite parts of the kit. So whenever I get a kit, the first thing I look for is the confetti because that's just very much my style of throwing things around the page. So now I'm back to my left cluster. I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. And the wood veneer had all these tiny little leaves. And I was like, well, what if I add leaves to the branches? And so I do that. I add some leaves to the branches. And it kind of worked out because some of the, oh, Minerva has a plastic bag. Yay, right at the end of my layout where I don't want to start my voiceover again, she gets a plastic bag. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I grabbed those leaves, and part of the reason I wanted to use those leaves is one of the leaves matched the leaves on the stamp sets, if that made any sense. One of the leaf wood veneer pieces was kind of long and skinny, so it looked like the leaf that I was using on the gold stamp, and then one of the other leaves was kind of round, and it matched the leaf that I was using in the rose gold stamps. So I was like, oh, that looks perfect. And then I had an idea. I knew that I had this pack of these LE Studio labels and die cuts that I had cut out and sorted by color. And I was like, I'm sure there's something in the pack that I could use. So I grabbed this yellow one that says, these are the golden days. She has the plastic bag again. I grabbed the yellow one that says, these are the golden days, and stick that down in my top left corner. So I'm going to let the music play here at this point because I can't stop the cats from playing with the plastic bag. I hope you like this video. Please feel free to comment and subscribe and tell me what other things your pets get up to when you're trying to work. And as always, keep it crafty, friends, and have a great day.